So today we are celebrating our women, not men, because man's nature is different. It's a very beneficial day. It reminds us about respect to women. So this is one of the basic elements of the culture, respect to women as to mother, about her elevated nature. On the one hand, it is very difficult to be a woman. That's what it's said in Shastras, the most complicated part to play. But on the other hand, it is very honorable. So that's why we have to pay obeisances to all the women today, to all the mothers, sisters and daughters. In Krishna's consciousness, it seems to me, this part becomes even more complicated to play. Because the more spiritually developed a lady is, the more difficult for her it is to find her couple. Because when a woman gets on her spiritual path, it becomes difficult for her to find her second half. And it is when you have kids and your family, you have to take care of your family, and you take on a lot on yourself. So that's why today we are paying our obeisances, our duty to all the women, to all the wives. And if you take a destiny, a fate of a preacher, it is a great pressure on the preacher's wife. So when a person is totally involved in spiritual preaching, the wife of this person, she's got a lot of load on her. As one sannyasi said, so probably women are even more engaged in service than the men, in devotional service. So because they care so much. When I was traveling in early 19s, was in Ural and Siberia, both in summer and winter. Of course, the roads were so bad back then. It was less comfortable, less convenient. It was more hunger and cold weather. So I was met by men, but the women, they were taking care of me. They saw some these minor details, even like warm socks or cooking something. So thanks to this care, I still live on this planet. Because most probably I would just really damage my health. So if not for the women, I would have had a really bad health right now. So okay, now let's get to the lecture.
Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya, Jai Nityananda, Jai Dvaita Chandra, Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya, Jai Nityananda, Jai Dvaita Chandra, Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Shri Chaitanya-caritamrta.
So today we are
Глава 3.
reading Sri Caitanya-caritamrta,
Текст 35.
chapter 3, Adi-lila. Adi-lila, chapter 3, the external reasons for the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Прочитай, пожалуйста, текст.
Karpajana Prabhu, can you please read the text?
Хорошо.
Text 35.
Гарга Махашая, Махашая, великий Махашая Гарга Муни. Гарга Муни знал,
So Garga Muni knew that Lord Chaitanya
воплощение Господа
was the incarnation for Kali-yuga,
и предсказал его приход, когда проводил для
and he actually foretold his coming
именем
when he was
комментария. Для этого
in the process of the naming ceremony for Kṛṣṇa.
Бхагаватам, где Гарга Муни исполняет необходимые обряды,
So in order to understand it, we have to go back to the canto
прогнозы.
5th of Srimad Bhagavatam when he was telling his forecast about this baby.
И он вот эти вещи описывает.
So he is describing all these things, both in the past, present, and future, and he also mentions the future incarnations. So that's what kind of a forecast Garga Muni is making.
Вот здесь цитата, что рассказал Гарга Муни.
So here, what Garga Muni said in Srimad Bhagavatam. So the body of this boy, Kṛṣṇa, can be of different colors, white, red, or yellow, depending on the era that he is entering. Today he has appeared in a divine black color. So you see yellow color is also mentioned there, the golden one. It says pita, means yellow. So white, red, and yellow, three colors, each one of them denotes the body of the Lord. And then the goddess of flourishness, so the white is Satya Yuga, red is Treta Yuga, and yellow is Kali-yuga. So Dvapara Yuga is not mentioned here for some reasons. So the Dvapara Yuga that has already passed, the Lord's body was of the black color. That's what's mentioned in the Vedic scriptures. So it turns out we have four colors depending on the yuga. And that means that he is Tri Yuga avatar, not Chatra Yuga avatar. So you see, Shastras, it seems like there's some controversy in here, but there must not be any mistake in here. So how do we solve this contradiction? So it means that the Lord also comes in Kali-yuga, and it says that this was the Tri Yuga avatar. So there are some secrets that Lord possesses. You see, there are many secrets hidden from the materialists. The materialists cannot even decipher them by any means. See, materialists, they do not know anything about the Lord. Only Srimati Radharani knows everything about the Lord. Even the Lord himself does not know himself so well. That's why, in order to learn more, So that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a hidden form of Radharani. So Radharani never comes into this world so obviously. It's hidden because she is pious. She's chastised.
Он написал, что ты привлекаешь все три мира. Капитан Сарасвати немедленно остановил стих, сказал, нет, она никого не привлекает.
So once there was a scripture saying that Rani is attracting everything in this world. But then Bhaktisiddhanta said that stop doing that because she attracts only Krishna. She only comes here in her hidden form because she's chaste. So it's a wonderful secret, it's an amazing secret, Chana avatar. So that's why it is called 3 Yuga avatar, but 4 different colors. So in Dvapara Yuga, the personality of God becomes dark-skinned. So this is his main feature. If you want to imitate him, for example, to imitate Lord, so you have to have all the attributes that he has, some special signs on his feet, on his palms, marked by the nature, not just by the paint, but you have to be born with these natural marks. You also have to be decorated by a special stone. So this stone does not exist in this material world, and you cannot actually fake it. This stone tells the devotee about the mood the Lord is in. It changes the color actually. So it's like this stone is actually alive. It's hanging just on the Lord's chest, so very close to the Lord, and it's very sensitive to the mood the Lord is in. And when Krishna changes his thoughts, his mood, so this stone is actually changing its colors. So by just looking at this stone, a devotee can understand what's going on in Krishna's mind. So it's impossible to find this stone in the material world. It does not simply exist, only Krishna has it. And then there's like a curl of hair on his chest. So I heard that there was a king that could actually fake all these things back in the past. So he could even make some extra hands and this stone. So he painted something on his chest by some mystical power. But Krishna killed this king with his Sudarshana chakra. So that's how it all ended. So these are the signs of the Lord. So this is the verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.7. So now Karabhajana, a sacred person, a saintly person, is giving us this information. So with the same name that we have right now, because Karabhajana was just reading Sanskrit. So he was explaining the way the Lord looks in different eras, different epochs. You see different forms, all his signs, and all this knowledge was passed to the future generations just to avoid the fake avatars. But the religion in the Kali age so Sri Chaitanya, the avatar of yellow color, has come here during this Kali age, and the point was that to spread the holy name of the Lord. So now we can spread not only the Krishna's name, but all his avatars, the names of all his avatars, all his Shakti Vesha avatars, you name it, all the preachers, all the saintly people. Now the right time has come in order to understand all the preachers, all the representatives of God, all the prophets, not with the followers, but directly to the prophets. This is what is going to save us. When you're talking about the followers that probably spread this knowledge differently, the way they want it, immediately some deviation happens. So that's why all the followers and all the spiritual people, they have to point at the name of the Lord, at the name of the prophets, and do not put their experience on the top of this knowledge. So they only have to confirm the greatness of the Lord. They have to point out only the names of the holy people, and there's no other way. In Kali-yuga age, there are so many weaknesses and disadvantages in this age. In everything you can find some disadvantages, always. So people, sometimes they feel it. They said that, there are no holy people in this age. Even the kings, they used to deceive their people. Because in this age, the only thing that we can survive is to spread the holy name. Even the priests sometimes lie. And this practice of spreading the holy name is the only thing that we have to do. So when Prabhupada was asked about it, so Prabhupada said, this is not a gift of your spiritual master, this is the gift of the holy name, this is the gift of Kṛṣṇa himself. If I give you the holy name, then Kṛṣṇa will give you all the rest. So you see, Kṛṣṇa directly should be present in our life. So we spread the holy name of Kṛṣṇa, and all the prophets. Of course, all the prophets are categorized, but the point is that the name of Kṛṣṇa has all the other names in him, all the other names in it, in the holy name. So you don't have to separate these names from the Kṛṣṇa's name. This is all the same personality. So then Srila Prabhupada comments, in the Kali age, the most widespread religious practice is repeating or chanting the name of God. So Lord Chaitanya has given this method to people. Bhakti Yoga starts with chanting the holy name. Madhavacharya says about that in his commentary to Upanishad. He's chanting the verse from Narayana Samhita. So I'm translating the translation of the shloka. Garbhajana Prabhu, can you please read this shloka? So in Dvapara Yuga, people should worship Vishnu. But in the age of Kali, you can just chant holy names of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's a citation. So you can just chant, you can just sing them. And in many Upanishads, it is specifically underlined the importance of chanting Hare Krishna mantra.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Iti Shodasha Kamanam, Kali Kalmasanasanam, Nata Paratarupaya Sarvavedeshu Drishyate.
Кали Санкарана Панишат, перевод. Во всех ведических писаниях не найти лучшего пути религии для нынешней эпохи, чем повторение мантры Хари Кришна.
So the best thing that we can do right now is to chant Hare Krishna. This is the only
Огромная удача, что
means that we can use at this age. This is a great
такой метод удивительный.
luck that we have.
Там также
We've been
говорится,
so lucky to have been given
самый разумный
this
способ
mantra.
применять этот метод.
It says that only the
Простой, смотрите.
most intelligent ones
Что
can
сложно,
actually
правда?
accept
Повторять 3 слова. Харе Кришна.
this mantra. We only have to chant these 3 words, Hare Krishna and Rama.
А вот нет, только самый разумный смогут принять.
You see, it is said here that only the most intelligent ones can accept it, because the mind is so complicated in this age of Kali, because they have so many various things, national thoughts, internationals, all these isms. So their brain is overloaded with information these days. And it is said that you have to raise your children in Krishna's consciousness from the very beginning. And then when you give these regulative principles to an adult person, it is so hard for this Western person to follow these principles, because his mind has been already contaminated. So just imagine how much we have come down, actually. There's a lack of willpower, and the ones that will start chanting Hare Krishna mantra, they will have this power and this wisdom and intelligence, and they will get rid of all this contamination. This is amazing. It seems like it's very difficult to follow it, because we've all been raised in this culture of lust. The Western culture, now it becomes the criteria of all the cultures. Even in Asia, lust. Why do you think it's going through so easily? Because it's lust. So I remember when we were teenagers, we've been always interested in the Western music. Beatles, for example, Deep Purple, Pink Floyd. Everyone was just crazy about that music. Some of these Western musicians used to just go on the stage with such kind of a power. Everyone was just amazed. It was no comparison to all these Soviet singers. So Beatles was something else. It was totally something else. The stadiums, they were just going wild. So we thought, what was the secret of it? It was the talent. And then I was told they explained me how they did it. It was all about drugs. It wasn't power, it was lust. You take some drug and you feel more relaxed. Your lust just goes out. Yeah, you feel some inspiration. So just imagine it. This is the culture of intoxications. It just goes into you. No one is even paying attention to that right now. Even the elderly people, they cannot understand what's happening these days. They can't understand what's happening to the youngsters these days and how to stop this grave degradation. So lust at first seems to be really attractive. We look at all these musicians, this is such a progress. They've made a really big step in all the spheres of our lives. But then what happens next? The marriages, they just get broken. And then the lust goes even further. The similar genders get married, because the lust is the enemy of the soul. It's destroying everything. You see, covetousness, greediness, and lust and anger and irritation. It's everywhere right now. So how do you get rid of it? Only by chanting Hare Krishna mantra. Even in temples sometimes you can see people fighting each other, quarreling. Even the priests, they cannot control their feelings right now. So that's why you just have to go out there and chant Hare Krishna. That's when you start understanding what the spiritual life is about. So this is happiness, this is what happiness. So religion is about serving to people and taking care of them. And the highest care is to spread the holy name these days. And also the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, of course, connected with this, because Kṛṣṇa has given us this information, this knowledge. So his powerful body is shining as gold. And his voice, the Lord Chaitanya's voice, was quite low, and it's described that when Lord Chaitanya used to go to some villages, he would immediately visit some temples just to see the deity. And people would just follow him. Everyone wanted to feel God. The one who saw Lord Chaitanya, he was feeling God. So when he was entering one of the temples, usually, like very often, he would just faint, and then after getting back into his consciousness, he would just chant holy names. There were no microphones back then, remember? So people describing his biography that when Lord Chaitanya was chanting holy names, all the people were hearing him, although he wasn't chanting very loud. This is interesting. This is all about vibration. So the same happened in forest. He was just chanting mantra, whispering, but all the trees were hearing it. All the living beings, they were vibrating. It wasn't actually, it didn't depend on the voice, because he was chanting it with his heart. So this person can even chant mantra inside. You can chant it to himself. Haridas Thakur used to do that. Something he was chanting aloud, some part he was just reading, chanting to himself. And the atmosphere of the spiritual world was forming around him. So it means that not only the material voice is engaged in it, this is all about vibrations. So Lord Chaitanya, he wasn't chanting very loudly, but still everyone was listening to him, was hearing him. So that's kind of mystics we have. So one who measures 4 cubits in height and in breadth by his own hand is celebrated as a great personality. So you see, this is also matters, as it turns out. And one who, such a person is called Naigrodha Parimandala. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who personifies all good qualities, has the body of a Naigrodha Parimandala. Such a person is called Naigrodha Parimandala. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who personifies all good qualities, has the body of a Naigrodha Parimandala. No one other than the self, who has engaged the conditioned souls by his own illusory energy, can possess these bodily features. These features certainly indicate an incarnation of Vishnu and no one else. So remember, his color was golden, just like Srimati Radharani has. His arms are long enough to reach his knees. His eyes are just like lotus flowers. and his nose is like a sesame flower. His face is as beautiful as the moon. Lord Chaitanya was very handsome, was very attractive. So people would just go sometimes to take a look at him. In all respects, the Lord is attractive. He is very powerful. His beauty just, it impresses. He is peaceful, self-controlled, and fully devoted to the transcendental service of Lord Sri Krishna. He is affectionate toward his devotees. He is gentle and he is equally disposed toward all living beings. So here in Chaitanya Caritamrta, it will be described the way Lord Chaitanya was associated with the devotees. When he was saying something, he was magnifying happiness. Even some phrases, but he was magnifying this happiness because every devotee who was hearing the words coming out of the mouth of Lord Chaitanya, he was conscientious of his position, and he understood, he realized that Lord Chaitanya knows him and keeps him in his heart. Every devotee knew that Lord Chaitanya kept all of them in his heart. This is such a flow of nectar. It was pouring to every devotee. So that's how Lord Chaitanya was communicating with devotees. And of course, all the Sankirtanas and prasadam. So sometimes Lord Chaitanya would just take some of the form of avatars. He was playing in some theatrical stages. He would play Srimati Radharani even. He was actually, he was like the perfect embodiment of Srimati Radharani. Even though he was playing her, devotees could not tell the difference. So Lord Chaitanya would bring so much happiness, and at some time he took a form of Durga and he said, "I'm your mother." And then everybody realized that his own mother. It's not even Puranas, you see. So this is our present time. It's so he is decorated with sandalwood bangles and armlets and anointed with the pulp of sandalwood. He especially wears these decorations to dance in Sri Krishna Sankirtana. So, recording all these qualities of Lord Chaitanya, the sage Vaishyasampayana included his name in the Vishnu Sahasranama. So I have a question to devotees. What is the reason of all the reasons? Who is the source of this creation? So I'm not going to wait for the answer from you. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of course we know that he is the Krishna himself. But for our era, so this is the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And who is the super soul of the whole world? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that's the way we should feel. We should feel these days. So we have to understand that this is Krishna's expansion. So this avatar is connected with the super soul right now in our age. It's a hidden avatar, that's why we're not telling it to everybody, because Lord Chaitanya told us to talk about Krishna, but please understand who Lord Chaitanya is. If you do not understand who Lord Chaitanya is, you do not know who Krishna is. So even if you chant holy name, it will not be very effective without Lord Chaitanya. You will still have some offenses. So Lord Chaitanya, you can say he alleviates all the mistakes that we make. He helps us to chant attentively. He is Hare. He steals all our sins, all our imperfections. So you just chant Hare Krishna loudly, and everything that you're doing wrong will be fixed. So Gaura Hare. So just talk about Krishna, chant the holy name. So even though we are not perfect, we are not Aryas, and probably we are born in imperfect families. So that's okay if you have the conscience of Lord Chaitanya. Because this combination of Radha and Krishna, this is pure bhakti. In Lord Chaitanya's name and his mood. So Kirtanam is his mood. And he was taking part in Kirtanas. He was jumping very highly. He was extremely happy. It was just like an eruption of a volcano. And devotees surrounding him, they would jump over each other. That's how they were so happy. They didn't even understand how they were doing it. But then the next second they saw him sitting on the ground crying. It could change instantly. So this is the mood of Srimati Radharani. When she remembers about Krishna, she is happy, but then the next second when she feels the separation, she starts crying. So at the same time you can be peaceful and unbalanced, ecstatic to the highest degree. That's how he was spreading the holy name. The pastimes of Lord Chaitanya have two divisions. The early pastimes, Adi-lila, and the later pastimes, Shesha-lila. He has 4 names in each of these 2 lilas. You see the way everything is proved, described scientifically? Early and later stage, and 4 stages, 4 names, I'm sorry. In his early pastimes, he appears as a householder with a golden complexion. His limbs are beautiful and his body smeared with the pulp of sandalwood. Seems like molten gold. In his later pastimes, he accepts the sannyasa order, and he is equipoised and peaceful. And he is the highest abode of peace and devotion, for he silences the impersonalist non-devotees. They just keep quiet because they cannot say anything. The Lord Chaitanya is chanting holy names. So this is the verse from the Mahabharata, Dronadharma, Vishnu Sahasranama Stotra. So in his commentary on the Vishnu Sahasranama, called the Namartha Sutta, Srila Baladeva Vidyabhushana, commenting upon this verse, asserts that the Lord Chaitanya is the supreme personality of Godhead according to the evidence of the Upanishads. He explains that Suvarna Varna means a golden complexion. Suvarna Varna, it means gold. Varna means color, sign or mark, value. You can say it's just a special mark or color or sign. Someone is Brahman, someone is an administrator. This is something that differentiates this person from other people. Suvarna is a color denoting to some kind of a subject. Suva means a very dear, very precious. This means gold. Suvarna also means gold. But Suvarna Varna, so it's the sign of Suvarna. So you can also denote it to qualities. So in every respect, he was Suvarna. He was the best logician, he was the best family person, he was the best devotee. He was simply the best one, the best sannyasi as well. Suvarna Varna. And at the same time, remember, he was of golden color. He was totally unequaled. He also quotes the Vedic conjunction, Yada Pashya Pashyate Rukma Varnam, Kartaram Isham Purusham Brahma Yunim. So, Rukma Varnam, Kartaram Isham refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead as having a complexion the color of molten gold. Purusha means the Supreme Lord, and Brahma Yonim indicates that he is also the Supreme Brahman. This evidence too proves that Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Kṛṣṇa. So that's how you have to understand and study Shastras. Shastras has nothing extra. Everything is meaningful. Everything is significant. So now it's explaining us the meaning of this word gold. And you see, it's proven by the different sources as well. And also all these superior qualities are described here. And sometimes if something is repeated in Shastras 2 or 3 times, this makes it extremely important. Just because the human's intellect is not developed enough, you have to understand that if it's in Shastras 3 times, you will understand that you need to pay attention to that. You have to pay a lot of attention to each and every word in Shastras. There are no mistakes in there. So if something is repeated there 2 times, even 3 times, and 3 times from different sources, that means that it's very important. In the Kali age, only the holy name can save you, so that you get rid of all the doubts. There are no other ways to go alone the spiritual path. Another meaning of the description of the Lord as having a golden hue is that Lord Chaitanya's personality is as fascinating as gold is attractive. So Srila Baladeva Vidyabhushan has explained that the word Varanga means exquisitely beautiful. So there's a phrase that means golden rush, when people just go crazy. So the same fever, the same rush people will have in the consciousness of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya accepted sannyasa, living aside his householder life, to preach his mission. He has equanimity in different senses. First, he describes the confidential truth of the personality of Godhead, and second, he satisfies everyone by knowledge and attachment to Kṛṣṇa. He is peaceful because he renounces all topics not related to the service of Kṛṣṇa. So Sri Baladeva Vidyabhushan has explained that the word Nishtha indicates his being rigidly fixed in chanting the holy name of Sri Kṛṣṇa. Nishtha means something that is firm, something that is unchangeable. Anishtha means not stable. So Nishtha means a firm belief, firm faith. Lord Chaitanya subdued all disturbing opponents of devotional service, especially the monists, who are actually averse to the personal feature of the Supreme Lord. So this is the only weapon against the all-day personalists. This is the mood, the mood of the Lord Chaitanya, ecstasy of the devotional service. This is totally superior. Of course, this is coming from Kṛṣṇa initially. So these blessings, they work here today as well, because Kṛṣṇa is saturated with love. And he admires this love. He's telling that I will never pay back, I will never be able to pay anything back for this kind of love. This is the dearest thing in the world. I don't even know how to pay for that. I'm not able because I'm just the only one. I'm the single object of love, and you are a multiple object of love for me. I love you all, so I will not be able ever to pay you back with the same kind of love. And then Krishna says this blessing, the way he gives gopis. So let your devotion be your highest gift, the most elevated, the most dearest one, the most ecstatic one. Your bhakti will be the highest one, above everything all, the most elevated, that destroys all the rest of illusory representations. On the level of logics, it's really difficult to even talk to such devotees, to even understand them, because this platform of mind, it has no support. You can do whatever you want with your mind. You can twist things, prove and disapprove them, logics, opposite logics, black and white, everything is so confusing. That's why people still arguing with each other. Until you just chant Hare Krishna in ecstasy. So this is the power of bhakti. In this mood, this is the most elevated one in the whole world. This is the most precious one. The one you cannot buy, you cannot sell. So this is what kind of Caitanya-caritamrta we have today. Canto 3. So we finished today on the 49th chant. So the next text will be the 50th one. So now we have any questions and commentaries.
Hare Krishna. Мне показалось очень интересным то, что вы сегодня сказали.
It seemed to me very interesting everything that you have said today. Reminiscent Bhakti Siddhanta and his reaction to the poem that he has written, that Radha is attracting all these three worlds. That matter of fact, Krishna is attracting all these three worlds, and Radha is attracting the one that attracts all these three worlds. So you know Madhava Mohan. And also one remarkable thing that you've said today, the source. So there was like a question, and then you answered it. What's the source of the source? Of course, Krishna. But in our epoch, it's Sri Chaitanya Prabhu. And also today we've read this verse where Hare Krishna mantra is mentioned. So it is said there that these 16 syllables, I just wanted to point out that these 16 syllables, they make up the whole mantra, consisting of all just 3 names, but 16 syllables. It destroys everything that is not beneficial, everything that is not pious. And also Varna was explained today. Varna means color. So judging by the color, we can differentiate things. And also social division, Varnashrama system, in accordance with the talents and skills. Varna also means difference. Color is also different. So it seemed to be quite an interesting fact. It's like Suvarna, different from everything else.
Вот, пожалуйста, Виктор, поднимай руку.
So now Victor is raising his hand.
Харе Кришна, дорогие преданные,
Hare
начнем по
Krishna, dear
традиции с
devotees.
объявления.
So
Кто
traditional, I will
смотрит нас на YouTube,
start
пожалуйста,
with an
переходите по
announcement.
ссылке в описании,
The ones
присылайте
watching
вопросы к
us
нам в
from
телеграм-бот,
YouTube,
мы постараемся
click on the link
достаточно
below and
времени, чтобы
send
ответить.
your questions to the
Преданные в
chat.
Zoom, поднимайте руку, мы включим вам микрофон.
Devotees in
Позволим
Zoom,
задать вопрос прямому.
raise your hand as well and you'll
Ну,
be
и у
able
меня
to
такой
ask your
вопрос.
question.
Во-первых, большое спасибо вам за лекцию.
So first of all,
Мне
thank you
очень
very much
понравилось
for
то,
this
что вы
lecture.
говорили про
I
то,
liked
что
it
нужно
very much.
продвигать в век Кали святые имена.
I liked it when you were saying about spreading the holy names in the age of Kali, especially the name of God.
На этом моменте я хотел бы сакцентировать внимание, мне просто очень интересно.
So I wanted to point out one episode.
Христианство в первую очередь.
So I have one question about Christianity, for example, the name of Jesus Christ.
С одной стороны, мы видим, что
On the one
христианство
hand,
очень большое количество
we see
святых.
Christianity has a lot of holy people, saintly people,
Своему лидеру, основателю Христу, это дает результаты, которые указывают,
because
что
they
религия
are
действительно
connected
истинная. То есть здесь нет
to Jesus Christ, and that means that Christianity is the true religion, and there must not be any mistake. But on the other hand, I've heard by the Vaishnavis, the preachers, the very great ones, all of them are sannyasis. You cannot call God who is just the servant of God. This means impersonalism. So to this respect, I don't quite understand it. So I wanted just to hear your comments. Because everything that they do, the way they chant japa, it's so attractive to me. So I just wanted to clarify if you could actually glorify Jesus as God, but not his servant. Thank you so much. So when Srila Prabhupada was associating with Christian preachers, he said that Jesus Christ is our friend. There's another episode that I've been told about. It was either in Spain or Italy, somewhere in Europe. So Prabhupada was given a room. So he was in this room, and there was a crucifixion of Jesus Christ hanging on the wall, a picture. So it was from the era of Renaissance. And then when devotees came into this room to serve Prabhupada, they saw Prabhupada crying, looking at this picture, the crucified Jesus Christ. It was really big on the whole wall. So the devotees, they were shocked a little bit. They were just standing still, waiting for probably some explanations. So Prabhupada said, you just think about it. They have killed their own guru. So I am convinced that if Christians follow Jesus Christ, their world will change for the better immediately. If they really follow him. But the point is that they do not follow his preachings, his instructions. Prabhupada used to say about it. If you follow your prophets, God's consciousness as well. When he was asked about Francisc, Holy Francisc, and his philosophy, his consciousness, he said that it was also the Krishna's consciousness. He accepted all these great representatives of God that were following the holy names. That is what we lack right now in society. We have everything right now, all the knowledge, but we simply don't follow it. We either reject it or we quarrel with it, and we even enjoy it. That's how they lead their lives. They do everything but except real following. Of course, there are different points of views about Jesus Christ. So we believe Srila Prabhupada. Jesus has never said he's God, and this group of Christians that identify Jesus Christ with God, they are called impersonalists. So Jesus himself is a great devotee of God.
То, что вы сейчас сказали, получается, что все христиане имперсоналисты.
So it turns out that all the Christians are impersonalists. No, not all of them. I've met a lot of different priests saying that Jesus is not God, and there's no single uniform rule that they follow right now. It's a very
Chaitanya Chandra prabhu,
different picture right now.
можно
Chaitanya Chandra
очень интересный вопрос задал.
prabhu,
Вообще задает интересные
think that
вопросы всегда.
Victor
А можно вот этот
always
вопрос,
asks interesting questions.
обсуждать?
Can we just
Так понял, я услышал, в
continue
вопросе
discussing this
звучала
question?
разница между
As far as I understand,
Иисусом и самим Богом.
there's a difference between Jesus and God himself.
И, соответственно, у нас в нашей философии
So in our
говорим, что
philosophy,
между
we
духовным
also say that
и
there's a difference
Богом
between a
нет отличий.
spiritual master and God.
Относиться
Is no difference. We have to treat spiritual master as God, as God's real representative. In a sense, I think that it's very important. So there's uniformity and there's difference as well. So qualitatively we are the same, but qualitatively we are different. So Jesus was like the path for whom he had come down to preach. Because without a spiritual master, it is impossible to reach God, to understand God. In this respect, he's no different. And another thing, can we repeat Jesus' prayer if we refer to Jesus as to a spiritual master? They could also bless us. So if we chant names of God, so if you chant Victor, for example, Jesus' prayers, so probably this is Harinama. Ananda Vridamani is raising her hand because she's searching the books right now. She's studying the books right now connected with the Christianity, so probably she could tell us something on that topic. She could clarify something for us. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my obeisances. So I wanted to say that you have to look at Christianity in the context of history, because this has been changed so much during the centuries. It's divided into several periods, and if you take a look at the early Christianity after Jesus Christ, this was like the very beginning, when the doctrine wasn't formed yet. The problem is that the Christianity's theology, it only started forming 300 years after Jesus Christ's death, when this knowledge has spread to some other lands. So that's why this movement, it was forming really in a unique way. And here with us, right after Lord Chaitanya left, this theological system was formed almost immediately. And Christianity was preached in this Roman Empire. It was forming very gradually. But here in our tradition, we had no problems with it. Right after Lord Chaitanya has passed away, so we were already given everything ready, and probably in all religious traditions, it took so much time to actually form this religion. So it took about 2000 years to actually form this religion wholly, in full. So remember, there were like
И вот в это время они начинают формировать свою доктрину. Если поэтому взять период до этого, то нигде не было утверждения, что Иисус Христос — это Бог.
So the point is that it has never been mentioned that Jesus Christ is God Himself. Even if you read Bible, it doesn't say anything about Jesus Christ being God. So there were three directions defining who Christ was. Part of it was explained. So the people, some people would say that Jesus Christ is just the Son of God. The other part of people, segment of people, they would say that He was born God, and He was incarnated as God. And there was another group of people saying that Jesus Christ has become God eventually. So they were arguing between themselves, and there were some political moments as well. For the Roman Empire, if they had taken that doctrine that most of the disciples followed, they would have had a lot of problems. They would have accepted Judaism back then, because it was not accepted back then for the Roman Empire. They wouldn't have been able to follow such a strict regulations. But on the other hand, there's a principle that you only have to be born as Jew to follow this religion. If you're not, you're just a servant. So just imagine for the Roman emperor to be a servant of the people born Jews. So that's why they needed to come out with their own doctrine. And they have to come up with the doctrines, with the aspects they would accept, they wouldn't accept. And they actually so they rejected that Jesus Christ was a teacher, was a prophet. So they started talking that He's God. It was during the ecumenical councils, the three first of them. So it was there were a lot of political moves during these ecumenical councils. The John, so the Apostle John, he said, if you accept Jesus, everything you need, both the faith and the belief. So the Romans, they've just taken up some rules, and this doctrine has taken a lot of time to be formed.
Но там была очень жесткая регламентация. Все, кто не принимает вот эту доктрину, принятую в Вселенских
The
соборах, все
regulations were very
называли
strict,
еретиками и, как сказать,
and the ones that did not accept this doctrine elaborated by the
поэтому, то
ecumenical
есть, в
councils,
конечном счете, вот это
they were
воплощение
just
этой концепции Святой Троицы
a
в трех лицах,
church.
и даже на этом почве потом произошел раскол между православными
And
и
even based on
католиками.
these
То есть идеи
regulations,
такого не было доктринально, потому что доктрина, она формировалась людьми.
people got
Если посмотреть,
separated.
почему тогда Иисусова молитва, она все-таки
So
приносит,
why is
поднимает
Jesus'
людей на
prayer is so
уровень святости? Потому
elevated?
что можно
Why
опять
does
же
it bring people
проанализировать
on
в
the
ходе
level of
истории, что
being saints, on the
какой
saint
вот
level?
результат она давала. В большинстве случаев говорится, особенно это в
In the
движении
most of the
ISKCON GBC,
cases,
что те, кто творили эту умную молитву, они
it is
достигали
said that
уровня,
the ones
они видели фавор
chanting
Кṛṣṇы, то
this
есть
prayer,
свет Господень.
they
Да, то
could
есть
see
они
some light of
приводят себя
God.
в категориях Веданты, что они видели свет Брамаджьоти.
They probably saw
Это
the
очень
light of
высокий уровень,
Brahma-jyoti,
потому что они все были на
thinking
духовном,
now
полностью на
categories.
духовной платформе. Это
So
были
they were all in a
самоценные
very
личности, но
high
при этом они
elevated
не видели
spiritual
Кришну как
platform.
личность. То есть в чем отличие
They couldn't
наших
see
других
Krishna
вайшнавских
as
сиддхант, что
personality.
мы идем дальше уровня освобождения.
So in
Нам
our
Господь
tradition,
Чайтанья
the
дал
difference
расу.
is that
То
we
есть
can
раса —
go
это
even
отношения в
further
духовном мире, более того, отношения на Галоке. А там эти отношения, они очень
and go to
глубокие.
Goloka.
Говорилось, там несколько святых говорило о том, что брак души с Господом. Это очень редко происходило. В
So in
основном
Christianity, it
большая часть
could
мистиков
happen very
наблюдает вот это духовное
rarely.
видение, то есть
Most
они
of the
наблюдают
mystics, they could only see
духовное
Brahma-jyoti.
освобождение. И поэтому и для естественно, что даже, ну, как
So
сказать, для
that's why it's
православных
quite
людей это высочайший уровень святости.
natural for the
Но
most of the
должны
people. This is the
сравнивать
highest
это с
level
тем,
of
что дает нам Господь Чайтанья, что мы можем пойти
development,
дальше.
spiritual
Мы можем
development. But Lord
обрести
Chaitanya
отношения
tells
больше
us
с
that we can go
Господом,
even
быть
further.
более
We can have some relationships with
прекрасным,
God.
ну, как сказать, более изумительный дар, который мы получили.
So
Поэтому
we've been given
хотя
this
мы
gift.
можем, можно,
But
конечно,
Lord
повторять
Chaitanya to
Иисусову
go even
молитву.
further. Of course, you can
Наша
chant
цель
Jesus,
просто обрести освобождение,
Jesus'
но мы можем
prayer
следовать этой практике.
to get
Когда, правда,
liberated.
мы практики исихазма, это такая аскетическая традиция, что нам с нашими 4 принципами и, в принципе, таким, ну, легким образом жизни всего 16 кругов она и не снилась. Нужно очень сурово
You have to understand that if you want to follow that,
как сказать,
or
монашество,
those old
жить в аскезах,
principles,
всего отрекаться,
we won't be
рефлексии,
able to do
никогда не
that
оставлять
by just following these four regulative
попытки
principles and
что-то
16
это
rounds a day. We won't be,
мы видим этот фавор
we wouldn't have been
причем
able to do that.
духовный уровень, но Господь Чайтанья дал более простой процесс, более возвышенный,
This is a
причем
great
дал
austerity.
более высокий
So Lord
результат,
Chaitanya,
который мы
He's given
достигли.
us
Всё, спасибо.
this method of chanting because we can do it. So there's one thing that I would like to underline. So thank you so much for this information.
Вот смотрите, христианство современное, оно разделилось на множество
So modern Christianity has a lot of
православных и
branches, you see,
протестантов,
Orthodox and Catholics and Protestants.
там, сект существует христианских.
There are a lot of directions.
Больше я не знаю.
Больше 2000.
So more than 2,000 actually.
Тысяч теперь нет. Около 2000 сект существует по миру. Да.
More than 2,000
Специально очень как бы разные
sects,
вещи. Суть одна, да?
religious
Если
cults.
в чем как бы всё-таки
But
сила
the
существования,
The point is that the essence is one,
потому что не обращается к Иисусу.
because in the center the Jesus is.
Вот. Не думайте, что Иисус не знал
That's
об этом.
the power of
Всё
prophets.
произойдет с его религией.
Don't think that Jesus didn't know about it. He didn't know that would happen in the future.
Многое, что имею сказать, всего не вместить.
He knew exactly what would happen. He said, there's a lot I have to tell you, but you will not understand. He knew everything that would happen in the future. In the ancient Rome
Одно из божеств известное было очень популярных, это Митра. Митра
was worshipping Mitra.
это означало, что они совершали ему жертвы в обмен на то, что он забирал их грехи.
So they were making
Вот
sacrifices
суть была поклонение Митре, Митра друг. То есть мы совершаем жертву,
in
как
exchange
обрядовую жертву.
for the Mitras taking away their sins. So Mitra would just take away
Использовал вот это вот Митра. Эта шапка называется
the sins.
так, знаете, да?
You know, this,
Вот это вот божество,
there's a special
чтобы они
hat
знали,
called Mitra.
что это был Митра, Иисус Христос, который себя ради вас
So they thought that Mitra was Jesus Christ himself, actually, that was sacrificing him for you.
Он пришел
And they
специально,
said that
чтобы забрать
he
ваши
has come
грехи,
here
и
just to
он
take
соединил
all
это
your sins away.
физическое поклонение Митре с личностью Иисуса Христа. И на
So
этой
they
почве
kind of were identifying Mitra with Jesus.
официальная религия. Вот с этим
So then
утверждением всё это идёт.
that's how they have this official religion.
Даём грехи ему.
So we give our sins
Христос, он говорил
to Jesus. But Jesus,
Почему как бы этот
he said
апостол
another
у
thing.
нас в конфликт вступил со всеми другими апостолами, учениками Иисуса Христа?
That's why
Он сказал, что я их лучше всех
there was a
этих
conflict. He says that I'm better than all of these apostles.
А Иисус сказал, иди и больше не греши.
So Jesus said,
Запрещал
go
грешить,
and
запрещал
commit
грехи,
no
но
sins anymore.
иди и больше не греши. И даже тот, кто смотрит с вожделением на свою жену, уже прелюбодействует.
So even
Такие строгие, более строгие правила дал, чем даже Ветхий
those
Завет.
who were looking, they were already.
Сказал нам Давид, да, не пережилась бы в Риме, конечно же, с их рождений вычислить. Поэтому он соединил эти вещи, таким образом она, как получила статус. Это сделал апостол Павел, собственно.
So Apostle Paul,
Поэтому мы
he
говорим,
has
что
done all this
дело есть
unification.
последователи,
So
да,
now we're talking
разные
about
обстоятельства,
the
истории,
followers,
но суть
the
этой
pastimes of
религии
followers, what
одна,
they
это
did.
Иисус Христос,
But the
это
essence of
пророк,
this religion
которому нужно просто
is the same as Jesus Christ, the prophet.
вот о чем сейчас нужно говорить.
That's what we have to be talking about these days.
Вернитесь к Иисусу.
Just go back to
Изначально
Jesus,
вопросы, но даже это подвергается сегодня спору, потому что какие-то Евангелия скрываются, какие-то
because
интерпретированы,
some
даже
of
если
the
возникают тут разногласия, что Иисус
parts of
сказал,
the
что
Bible
нет,
are
сказал.
still missing.
Реинкарнация была устранена,
So
скажем,
reincarnation has been
когда
removed
тоже, и прочие вещи.
from the
Много
Bible,
было всяких вот,
and
сказано,
there's so many
напоминания,
things that are
которые
missing right now in the
идеологию
Bible.
уже составлять сами уже через несколько сот лет после ухода Иисуса Христа.
So remember
А
the
Господь читание не просто как бы сразу, да, 6 регосами записали, а Он еще сам говорил, о чем именно
So Lord Chaitanya
разъяснял какие-то вещи, сам после себя
came, he was explaining his disciples, his followers, what to write. He was commenting everything. That's why there's only one group. Everything is very strict. So Lord Chaitanya has come here just to give us all the information. He has come here to tell all the information to all the 6 Goswamis. And he was present at the time all this knowledge was being written down. So now, as you can see, this system is more stable. It is firmer. But if Christians really refer to Jesus, they will go back to him as well. If you follow Jesus, you would have to go to the cross. See, all of his disciples, they've done it. Only John, he died naturally. All the rest of the disciples, they were killed. Because all of them, they followed Jesus. Only then 100 years after that, it was allowed for some people to become kind of sannyasis, to lead the lives of monks. And they could reach this perfection with the help of austerity. See, Jesus, he was fasting for only 40 days, all the rest of the time he was preaching. So Pritu Prabhu, the disciple of Prabhupada, he would give a lot of lectures on Christianity. You could find his lectures, listen to them. So the only way to survive for the followers of Jesus and Muhammad is to really go back to them and listen to what they had told us. So thank you so much for this great answer. There's something else that can be added. Our advantage of the people seeking for spirituality is that there is a Vaishnava's tradition with a scientifically elaborated doctrine, and that's why we're so successful, we're so glad, we're so lucky. Everything that Lord Chaitanya has given to us is strictly formulated, clearly formulated. And now we have so many schools that have probably interpreted all this knowledge differently. So, of course, still there are some false knowledge, false teachings and instructions.
И вот приходят представители Бога, и вот
And then when the
Вайшнавство,
representatives of God
и
come,
говорится Шакти Авеша,
in Vaishnava's
специально уполномоченные,
terminology would say
чтобы
Shakti Avesha,
восстановить чистые учения.
the real authorities,
Учения.
just to re-establish the real
Если
knowledge.
говорить, не знаю,
So I don't know if something
такого пришествия
is said about it in Christianity, about Shakti Avesha, for example.
они уполномоченные.
What's remarkable is that Shakti Avesha, they have this authority.
являются аватарами. Шакти
They're just the avatars,
вместе с
the Shakti Avesha avatars of God.
И есть разные уровни или типы Шакти Авеша аватар.
And there are different levels of Shakti Avesha avatar.
Одновременно единство различие.
So at this time, there are some similarities and differences.
Понимаете, включайте микрофон.
So raise your hand and turn your mics on. So I just wanted to add something.
Некоторые соображения хотел сказать. Вот, мы знаем, что если, допустим, духовного учителя объявить Богом, то это
So we know that
персонализм.
if we call our spiritual master a god, this would be an impersonalism.
Чтобы- Почему имперсонализм? Потому что
So why
если, допустим,
impersonalism?
Бог,
Because
тоже стать духовным
if the
учителем,
spiritual master is God, also become a spiritual master. That's why, that means that I would want to become God.
положение, как бы основателя. То есть, когда вот в соборах стали
Of the founder,
говорить, что вот Иисус Христос,
so during these ecumenical councils,
тот этап, который у нас
they were
сейчас,
discussing who Jesus Christ
то, что
really was.
Ачарья-основатель, именно вот его положение. Он
Just
много духовных
now the position of Srila Prabhupada is the founder,
каждый
right?
из них может дать Бога, каждый является для ученика представителем Бога, но все равно никто из них не сравнится.
And all the spiritual masters, they are the representatives of God to their disciples, but you know, it's hard to make out this terminology to understand these differences. Just like Muslims said that there's no God except Allah, so the only difference between Islam and Christianity is the terminology, probably. But you know, there's no difference actually.
Хотел уточнить, Нимай Хари Прабhu. Вы сказали, что если мы считаем духовного учителя самим Богом, это имперсонализм. А не кажется ли, что это майявада?
So is it really impersonalism or Mayavada when you think that the spiritual master is God? I thought that this was actually the same. So Srila Prabhupada used to use this word. Remember that when his first sannyasi disciples, they would call him God, they would announce him as God. And when Prabhupada learned about it, he called them impersonalists. So he used this word in this context. Impersonalism gives birth to Mayavada. So first it goes impersonalism and then Mayavada. So classically, so Shukadeva was impersonalist, for example, and four Kumaras. Because they've come down to only understand the Brahma Jyoti, this effulgence. But thanks to the associating with devotees, they've become personalists. But Mayavada are those who want to take the position of God, the ones who want to become God. Or they want to say that he's got no personality. Of the impersonalists, they do understand that God has three different aspects. That's just because they haven't met devotees yet. So these are the only difference between impersonalists and Mayavadis. Yes, I read the difference between Brahmavadi and Mayavadi. truly saying is just don't remember Srila Prabhupada's using the word Brahmavari. I've heard Mayavadi a lot. In Nectar of Devotion, there were a lot of things about this terminology.
Ананда Вриндавани, пожалуйста.
Sananda Vrindavani, please.
Хари Кришна, я хотела вот сказать, что
Hare Krishna.
если на
So I
вопрос
just
Nimai Хари Прабху
wanted to say that
ответить, то, что он говорит о том, что мы
if
в
we answer
принципе делаем то же самое, что и христиане, когда
the previous
подчеркиваем
question,
особый статус Шрилы
when we
Прабхупады,
underlined
то здесь можно
special
такую
status of
очень
Srila Prabhupada,
философскую тонкость
there's a
подчеркнуть необходимо.
philosophical subtlety that has to be underlined as well. It is
Религиозные
natural
традиции
that in
всегда
every
подчеркивают статус своего
religious
основателя.
tradition, people always make accent, they also always underline the status of the founder, because Acharya, it brings some knowledge that is very important for the whole humanity. But when we underline the role of our founder, our Acharya that we follow, we have to understand the tattva as well. When we underline Srila Prabhupada's role, so we denote him to Jiva Tattva, but not to Krishna Tattva. But in Christianity, for example, or in Islam, they also underline the role of Muhammad. They say that he was the last prophet, but they don't say that he becomes God. If you go back to Judaism, so in Christianity, they've changed tattva. So it actually happened during these ecumenical councils. They said that when God wanted to create this world, so that's how he had this incarnation of God's Son, Logos. So they say that this Logos is actually no different from God. And there's one more question, then there's a third deity, the Spirit. But they think that the God Son is no different from God Himself. So we also so in Vishnu Purana it says that this Jiva is a Vesha avatar. They also say that he's the reincarnation, and they're saying that he's Jiva. They give him this divine tattva. So probably that's where the problem is hiding. So in any other religion, when you talk about your prophets, you don't say that our founder. This would be a confusion. So we have to understand that Srila Prabhupada's knowledge will be here for the nearest 10,000 years, but he's not God himself. So now you see the mission of Lord Chaitanya's for this age. So we are united with God, and at the same time we are different from Him. Remember, he was crying when he felt this separation from Krishna. In this Kali age, all the religion, it all comes down to personalism. And of course, naturally we need this mercy. That's what Lord Chaitanya said, that you have to understand Bhagavad Gita. Keep in mind that there are two souls. It's like the little soul and the super soul. If you do not accept it, you will not understand anything, because we're all influenced by the personalism. You should understand everything in this aspect. Lord Chaitanya, he has revived this knowledge. So there's a little jiva and there's Paramatma. There are two jivas. So except Brahman, there are two jivas more. So remember this analogy with two birds sitting on a tree. One was eating the fruits of this bird, but the other one was not eating the fruits. So the one that was not eating, it was the super soul. So it means that we are with him and we are different from him at the same time. So if I had been the creator of this body, I would have created any body I wanted. But I'm given this body. I'm using this body, but the real host of it is the super soul. I have his love in my heart, and I'm just the particle of the super soul. And people, they just say that there's no difference between us. That's the point of the problem. So they're talking about this unification, but there's no unification. You can say there's a uniformity. It's like you pour one glass of water into another one. So this false ego, ahankara, that tells you about this unification, this is a false thing. But when you develop this ecstasy for the love to God, you will understand the most elevated level of my development. You will understand that the God is my purpose, is my aim. So now we want to become particles, the servants of God again. See, Lord Chaitanya is bringing all this knowledge back to us. And when you want to unify with God, it means that I don't want to serve to myself. I want to serve to myself. This is a spiritual suicide. You don't want to be God. You want to be servant of God. Thank you so much. This is a very interesting discussion we're having today. Are there any more questions on this topic? So there's a question in YouTube. From the very beginning, Śrīmad Bhagavatam says that about Pravritti Marvi. So how do we develop this external activity but develop our eternal peacefulness? How do we develop spiritually without thinking about these material values?
Кṛṣṇa прабhu преданный. Мне кажется, честно сказать, Chaitanya Chandra Charan или Garga Muni лучше меня ответят на этот вопрос.
Well, you know, truly saying that I think that Chaitanya Chandra prabhu or Garga Prabhu, you would answer this question in a better way. I think it all depends, it all consists of all these three things, from Kanishta to Uttava. I think on the level of Madhyama, it means that we have the aim to reach Kṛṣṇa. Kanishta, for example, is the person, as far as I understand, person that gives fruits. Madhyama is the person who gives his activity, he devotes his activity and he leaves nothing for himself. And this is Madhyama. He doesn't have this love on the most elevated level, but still he's on his way. So we are moving forward, but we have to go through all these steps. You cannot reach this highest
чтобы двигаться в этом
peak
направлении.
immediately. Like you have to take a lot of
Я бы
effort.
так ответила.
So I would answer
Вот
this
у нас в Раджамане есть прабhu.
question in this way.
Да,
А,
говорит.
So Rajamani Prabhu,
Раджамани, прочитайте микрофон.
Кришна, мои поклоны, спасибо за
Hare
обсуждение.
Krishna,
Мне
please
вопрос,
accept my
может быть, не по
obeisances.
теме. Можно? Первая песня, первая глава, первый стих я прочитаю, конец,
So there's a
последний
question that I
абзац.
have.
И у меня
The
вот
first
такие
canto,
вопросы.
first verse,
Шримад Бхагаватам постоянно,
Srimad Bhagavatam,
постепенно поднимает непредубежденного читателя на высочайший
eventually
уровень
takes
трансцендентного совершенства.
the reader
Он
to the
позволит ему
elevated level,
возвыситься над тремя видами материальной
so it gives them the opportunity
которую
to
рекомендуют веды,
get above
кармическими действиями,
something material,
спекулятивным философствованием и
get rid of
поклонением
karmic
функциональным
activity and
божествам.
speculation,
Вот последний момент поклонению функциональным божествам.
and
Могу прокомментировать, что
worshiping
это значит?
functional deities. Could you comment on that, please?
То есть
Я
даже
The last thing?
Я
Шримад
не
Бхагаватам-
Раджамани прабhu. Не понял вопрос. В чем вопрос?
So what's
Шримад
the
Бхагаватам постепенно поднимает. То есть
So Srimad
получается,
Bhagavatam
Шримад Бхагаватам выше поклонения функциональным божествам.
gradually?
Ну да, конечно.
So why is Srimad Bhagavatam
Поклонение функциональным божествам.
higher than worshiping to functional deities?
Это уровень правил предписаний, а Шримад Бхагаватам это спонтанный уровень.
So Srimad Bhagavatam is the spontaneous level, and when you worship deities, it's just a regulation.
Мы же поклоняемся
But on the other hand, we worship
получается.
А это не отвергает.
deities.
Нет, это не
But you
отвергает.
see, there's no contradiction in it.
Это предписано.
There's no rejection.
Шрагануга Бхакти
It's
сначала
like an instruction.
следует правилам Прачарати.
So first you have to follow the instructions.
Гири Хари Прабhu.
So please accept my obeisances. Chaitanya Chandra Charan prabhu.
Огромное спасибо вам всем.
So thank you very much.
И я хотел бы вернуться к началу,
I'd like to go back
началу, с чего начал
to the beginning of
Чандра Чаран.
what I had begun with.
Подумал, что нельзя упускать такую возможность. Сегодня необыкновенный день, день
So can I just
8 марта.
lose the opportunity because today we have the
От всей души хочу
Day of all the women.
всех матушек,
So with all my heart, I'd like to
жен, наших
congratulate
сестренок,
all the wives and sisters, all the women around the world,
присоединиться ко всему тому, что сказал Чайтanya Chandra Charan prabhu.
and join everything that Chaitanya Chandra prabhu has already said today.
Влияние, наверное, этой внутренней энергии, божественной энергии, какое было прекрасное обсуждение, просто был очень в экстазе слушать такие
So this was
прекрасные обсуждения.
great discussion today. I really
Говорит, на самом деле,
was happy to listen to that.
все идут, говорит, ко мне,
Krishna says that everyone is
а я иду к Радхе.
going to me, but I'm going to Radha.
Господь Чайтанья, он также
So Lord China,
чтобы
Lord
понять
Chaitanya,
эту внутреннюю энергию,
he said that
понять настроение Радхарани,
if you want to understand
с этой целью.
Radharani's mood and her internal energy,
Поэтому вот Chaitanya Chandra Charan Maharaja прабhu рассказывал о том, как он путешествует. и
should
как
go to Kṛṣṇa.
много,
And Chaitanya Chandra Charan prabhu said that
не то, что помощь, а поддержка
he travels a lot, he gets a lot of support
матушек. И
and
я
care.
историю там Chaitanya Chandra Charan не рассказал, не расскажет об этом. Я знаю, очень скромный.
by Mataji's.
Поэтому я немножко, если
And of course, Chaitanya Chandra prabhu
понравилось,
will not tell us a lot
связано с этим.
of details, and there's something I wanted to add.
Путешествие был,
So someday
в каком-то месте, где
we were
было
traveling.
уютно, прохладно было.
So there was one place that was not very comfortable to stay at. It was quite cold.
Поэтому он просто какую-то там что-то бросил на пол Чайтanya Charan prabhu,
And the devotee
улегся так хорошо,
welcoming us,
укрылся, всё, и
he was not actually very welcoming.
Chaitanya
So he threw some kind of a mat on the floor for Chaitanya Chandra prabhu, but he himself was lying on the sofa.
Но в этот момент что произошло? Зашла в комнату мать,
But the next moment,
включила свет и увидела,
this devotee's
что происходит.
mother came to this room.
Очень разозлилась,
She got
сказала своего сына,
very angry.
и вот
She chastised his son
позаботилась
very much, and she took care of Chaitanya Chandra Charan prabhu.
одеяло, укрыла и хорошо уложила
So she gave him a blanket and a good bed. So that was an example of a sensitive and noble Mataji helping us with these devotional service, because without them that would have been impossible for us to achieve everything that we had achieved already. So I wish this spiritual progress to all the Matajis. And I wanted to say that before Lord Chaitanya, I heard that the world was considered to be unconscious. When Lord Chaitanya came, he gave us this vital force, vital power, because he has spread this knowledge, this consciousness all over the world, chanting holy names. So Maha Mantra got spread. This influence is prevailing in the whole world. So I'm so lucky to be able to listen to all these discussions. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Giridhari Prabhu. You always give us some really hearty words and warm ones. And I just wanted to add something about the story that you've just told us about, so that all devotees do not think anything bad of that devotee welcoming us. This was a very good devotee. He was very sincere. He wasn't just probably ready for that. The place that I was visiting back then, early in the 90s, everyone was just like that. It's just they understood the spiritual life in this respect. So when they met me, I was fasting back then for 2 days, and I was hoping that they would give me some food. So they gave me just 2 nuts and a little bit of honey. So they had calculated everything according to calories, and according to Bhakti Yoga, they thought that I needed nothing more. So they were sleeping only on the floor. So one day I was traveling with Prabhu Vishnu Maharaj from Moscow to St. Petersburg. So we were traveling in one compartment. So we entered some apartment, very old apartment, in very bad condition. So there were about 50 people living there. So Maharaj, he couldn't even find any spare place for him to have rest. So they were bothering him all the time. So he was given a room that was more like a closet. So he was living there. So when I knocked on the door just to see what he was doing, maybe he needed some help. So he was just lying on the floor, the bare floor. And then he told me that, Chaitanya Chandra, when we visit another city, please do not take me to some brahmachari's ashram, to some sannyasis. So you see, you have to understand that this was the spirit of that time. So this was a very honorable. It was honorable to do that. I wasn't even given a pillow because they thought I was already perfect. But I remember the mother of this devotee just entered the room and she started screaming at his son. So they gave me some pillows, some blankets. So I didn't say anything. I didn't say that I wasn't a perfect devotee back then. And I was like, I didn't need anything, any pillows or blankets, but still it felt good. So I'm so thankful to that Mataji. And you know, this was just the spirit of those times. I'm going to add something. So when Giridhari Prabhu raised his hand, I thought that he was just about to sing something on his guitar.
такие слова, которые можно, ну, расценить не хуже, чем
But still, he gave us a great speech coming out of his mouth.
И я тоже хотел бы поздравить всех
So I
наших
also wanted to congratulate
а, девушек, сестер,
well, ladies,
женщин, матерей
sisters,
с
women,
этим удивительным праздником.
mothers with this
Мы знаем,
amazing
что в культурном обществе к
holiday.
женщинам обращаются как матаджи
We know
или
that
мать.
we refer
Более того,
to our women as
в
matajis or
культурном
mother.
обществе обучают людей,
In addition,
прививают им, учат
from the very childhood,
выражать почтение,
people are
уважать
taught
мать. И
to give respect, to pay obeisances to
не
mothers.
знаю,
We know
у
that
нас не
a
одна
person
мать,
has
7 матерей,
7 mothers, remember about it?
матери. И также для нас, каждого из нас, как только мы появляемся на свет, опять-таки, с помощью или
As soon as we
благодаря
are
матери,
born
мать,
into
наша
this world,
биологическая мать.
our biological mother gives us this birth.
Может быть, не совсем подходящее слово биологическая мать.
Maybe it's not the right word to use now, the biological mother.
Является
Our real mother
гуру,
is our guru, the first guru,
духовным учителем. Поэтому в каком-то смысле
the
сегодня
spiritual
мы
master.
отмечаем, день матери и гуру. И вот хочу добавить еще.
So today we dedicate this
Бхагавад-гите есть
day to our mothers, to our gurus.
4.9.
So there's a
В каком-то
verse
смысле где-то Шрила Прабхупада говорит, что один из самых главных стихов Бхагавад-гите вот этот
in
стих.
Bhagavad Gita, and Prabhupada says that this is one of the most important ones.
Ага. Как подыгам Пунарджана, Дима написал, где Кришна говорит, если кто-то поймет мое
So Krishna
божественное
says, if someone
явление,
understands
божественное
my divine
деяние,
appearance and my divine pastimes,
ага, воистину, оставляет тело,
that one will leave his
никогда
body
больше не будет рождаться в этом
and will never be born again
духовном мире.
in this material world.
Этот стих также, с другой стороны, говорит о том, что
On the other
Кришна
hand,
сам,
it says
он
that
рожденный,
Krishna himself,
является, чтобы
himself,
вкусить
although he's not born,
расу,
he comes here to give us this rasa
или получить сладость отношений с матерью,
and to get
или
the
Ишодой,
sweetness of relationships with his mother, Yashoda,
получать заботу,
to get
внимание,
care
потому что
and
без
attention of his mother.
без этих отношений,
Because
материнской любви,
without
ничего
these
что не может происходить
relationships,
человеком.
no living entity
И Кришна сам,
can
он
develop
что прославил
normally.
святой сокровенной лилы. Говорится, что Галоки Вриндаване нет этого.
So it says that
То есть это
it is said that
соответственно,
there's nothing like that even in Goloka Vrindavana.
вот на землю приходит, чтобы, может быть, в том
So
числе и
Krishna
прославить
comes down to earth
гуру.
also to glorify his first guru, his mother.
С праздником, дорогие матушки,
So we congratulate you, our dear
материнские
Matajas,
сестры.
dear mothers and sisters.
Харе Кришна.
Hare Krishna.
Последние пару слов по этому поводу.
And the last
Дополнение
few words
Сейчас
on this topic,
Прабху.
a little addition.
Вот. Мать это слава женщины.
So mother is the glory of a woman, the greatest glory of the woman. It might not be written in some laws,
Нет. Вот. Но это подлинная слава, без которой человек
but this
не
is
может
the real glory that a person cannot live without.
Она дает нам жизнь и
So mother gives us
любовь,
birth and love.
поддерживает нас всем своим
She supports us all our lives,
желает блага,
and she always
неизменно.
wishes us
Если все плохо, она всегда надеется, что будет лучше.
the goodness.
Да,
Even at some hard times, she always hopes that it's going to be okay.
настоящее. Также жена, целомудренная жена,
Also a wife,
ну, ценность этого мира, настоящая
chaste
ценность,
wife,
ценность
is the real
мира,
pressure, is the real value
знает о
of
матери.
this world.
Мужчина, говорится, по закону кармы должен
A man
матери больше всех.
is sad
Своей жене,
by the law of karma.
долгу перед матерью.
He is obliged
И
to
чтобы
his
наши
mother
женщины могли вот
to the
так
fullest
так,
extent,
да,
the highest
счастливы,
extent.
я рекомендую сегодня всем женщинам передать эту славу неписанную.
So today I recommend
Успех, аскезу,
to all of you
а,
to glorify your women
духовным образом вверх, медитируя на мать
in a
Кришны,
spiritual manner,
мать Господа
to
Вишну,
meditate
Деви, это мать
on
Ишода Деви,
Krishna's mother,
это супруга
Lord
Кришны,
Chaitanya's mother,
мать Радхарани,
the
Влада,
wife of Krishna,
это источник славы женской в этом мире.
the source of all the
Вот эта
women's glory in this world. So that's why women that are devotees, they get this special glory today. So thank you so much. Prabhupada ki jai.